7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off and rise in body and earth spirit for our opening hymn filled with loving kindness.
Good morning. I'm Mike Brooks. I am currently your treasurer and a member of the Board of Trustees of the Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota. And it is my great pleasure to welcome all of you here this morning with a special welcome to our visitors who are here in person or over live stream. We welcome those of you who are visiting to find out more about Unitarian Universalism and about this congregation. You are welcome to participate in our events, and we urge you to register on our virtual guest book, which you can find via a link on the home page of our website at uusrq.org. If you're visiting in person, there is a sign-up sheet for visitors at a table right outside the sanctuary. And if you do sign up, we'll send you our weekly newsletter and Zoom links to our virtual events. And of course, as always, we invite you to join us for coffee and conversation after the service. Before moving on, I do want to add a brief personal word here. Having moved a fair amount during my career, this is the 6th Unitarian congregation of which I've been a member. But never have I been as proud as I am this morning to be a Unitarian and to be affiliated with a particular congregation. Yesterday's remembrance event reflected the fact that we are indeed a community of love and that our love embraces the broader community around us. I think this is a very special place, and we should all feel very good about it. Now, in that same spirit, I would like to introduce Bill Payton, who is the president and chair of our Board of Trustees, for a few words. Bill?
Hi. Good morning. Well, as Mike said, my purpose this morning is to say something about stewardship, but I too would like to say how moved I was yesterday. And I'm just so glad that we had a part in documenting the terrorism against the black community particularly at a time when so many are trying to rewrite history so that it makes better reading for the greater white population. So thank you all. So I've been asked to say something about stewardship this morning. I really don't know what to say, so we have something in common. You have no idea what I'm going to say. I have no idea what I'm going to say. I thought about using artificial intelligence, but then I thought, that's what I've done all my life. Now, no matter what the faith, a common refrain is, they're always asking for money. I know some of you have said that, I have said that. So the fact is that's not so true here. Now the Sunday collection is a given. If you're like me, every Sunday you're wondering, as we approach the end of reflection number 1, what Jay's going to say that makes me think, oh, please, please, let this sacred time begin so I can put something in the collection basket. So as I said, the weekly collection is a given. But actually, other than that, we only have 2 fundraising campaigns here. And the first of those, of course, is the auction, or better known now as BidFest. And BidFest is actually a big social event. We come together, we eat, we drink, and we bid on items that create more social activity, whether they be activities or artistic events. The other major fundraiser, the major fundraiser, is our stewardship campaign. And some people say, well, I volunteer a lot and I do a lot of things. But folks, the stewardship campaign is a financial fund drive. So I would think you will agree with me that this has been going on for 6 or 7 weeks. It's getting kind of tiring now. But if everyone submitted their pledge card on the kickoff Sunday, the pledge drive would end. But we're now on week 6 or 7, and we'd like to bring the campaign to a close. And we still have some 20% of our members who have yet to pledge. So let's get those pledges in, and we will end this conversation. I will be outside at the pledge box following the end of the service today. And please come out, make a pledge. Let's get this done. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. We have one more announcement, and for that I would like to introduce Eric Carroll, who is here from Transition House, which is the organization with which we will be sharing today's collection plate. Eric?
Sorry, technology's not cooperating at the moment. I will go with that. So good morning. My name is Eric Carroll. I'm speaking to you as part of the Social Justice Transition House team, and on behalf of today's Share the Plate. When I was asked to come before you this morning, I imagined delivering a long personal narrative about why homelessness and rental assistance are such important issues to me. But I realized I only have 3 minutes, and a few simple facts illuminate the situation quite well. Affording to live in Sarasota is very difficult. We are told not to spend more than 30% of our income on housing. Yet, almost a third of the Sarasota-Manatee County renters spend over 50%. Over 50% of their income. Looking at the most recent point-in-time homelessness censuses, a method known to produce undercounts, we have roughly 1,100 unhomed members of our community, far above average for a community our size. These numbers are important because they show the dangers and difficulties the unhoused and insecurely housed face are incredibly, indefensibly widespread in our community. The simple state of facing a potentially unmanageable debt or cost has been shown to cause a cognitive impairment equivalent to missing a night's sleep. Can you imagine how often that happens when you're spending over 50% of your income on housing? Children living in overcrowded or insecure situations are faced with increased risk of a dizzying multitude of negative health effects and developmental impacts. So how do we help? In partnership with the Sarasota Housing Authority, UUSRQ helps one working family at a time transition out of homelessness. And the truly amazing part is that we do this entirely with donations. Your donations of furnishings, funds, provide a fully furnished home, a $200 monthly rent subsidy, and as needed, a safety net for catastrophic situations. I experienced this firsthand as part of the transition house team when we moved a family into a home, a fully furnished home, the week before Christmas this year. The dad's visible relief, the children's excitement as they explored their very own rooms, complete with homework study desks and chairs, made our work so meaningful and worthwhile. But Transition House is not only part of the homelessness solution. It is a beautiful opportunity for us to come together as the strong UUSRQ community we are and impact concrete change on the larger Sarasota-Manatee County communities that we are a part of. If you have any questions or would like to help, please stop by the social justice table after service. Our Transition House team thanks you for your past support, and finally, we ask for your continued support through today's Share the Plate. Thank you.
Good morning. Oh, check. Testing. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1. Check. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check. Testing 1, 2. Check. Testing 1, 2. Oh, there we go. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. You'll notice the choir has moved into the aisles. We're going to do something different with you today. We're going to do a Buddhist chant. So the words will be projected on the screen. You're welcome to join in with us. The goal this morning is to set an intention. So give yourselves a second, take a breath. Think about your hands. Let them be relaxed wherever they are. Your shoulders are relaxed. And your head is miraculously balancing gently on top of your spine. And what we want to do is set an intention for compassion. This chant we're going to do is related to a Buddhist that is connected with the idea of compassion. So think of someone, a being, a person that you could want to share compassion and love and care with today, and that's what we're going to send out. So I'm going to start the chant. You can begin whenever you'd like. You can go at your own pace. It sounds a little bit like chaos, but what we're doing is if you relax your jaw, you'll feel your hum in your lips and in your cheekbones, and you can kind of let that be your resonating space. Here we go. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 if your mind wanders off, just come back to your intention for compassion. As the bell gently fades, we hope that our intention for compassion goes into the world.
I feel like I'm vibrating. I mean that in a good way. Our opening reading today is called Each Day by John McQuiston II. At the beginning of each day, after we open our eyes to receive the light of that day, as we listen to the voices and the sounds that surround us, we must resolve to treat each hour as the rarest of gifts, and be grateful for the consciousness that allows us to experience it. Recalling in thanks that our awareness is a present from which we know not where or how or why. When we arise from sleep, let us rise for the joy of the true work that we will be about this day, and considerately cheer one another on. Life will always provide matters for concern. Each day, however, brings with it reasons for joy. Every day carries a potential to bring the experience of heaven. Have the courage to expect good from it. Be gentle with this life and use the light of life to live fully in your time. And so now, as we light the chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, let its symbol be a light to find the goodness within. Please join us and Anna in lighting the chalice as we affirm our third source of wisdom from which our living tradition is drawn. Wisdom from the world's religions, which inspires us in our ethical and spiritual life. And now,
good morning. Today's story is The Little Book of Joy, written by His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, and Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and illustrated by Rafael Lopez. One of us grew up in a little house, and one of us grew up in a big house. Our worlds and our houses were on opposite sides of the earth. Often we were sad and lonely. Both of us wished for a friend. Sometimes the other kids wouldn't let us play, or they were very far away, and we wondered if we would always be sad and lonely. But when we sat still and breathed in the quiet, we noticed something beautiful. If you just focus on the thing that is making you sad, then sadness is all you see. But if you look around, you will see that joy is everywhere. Joy is in the warm, tingling feeling of the sun tickling your toes in the morning. It's the giggly, squiggly feeling when you are doing something silly. It's in the soft, snuggly feeling of being all wrapped up, cozy in your bed at night. And even when you are caught in the rain and your joy is washed away, it's waiting at the bottom of the puddle. And even if you slam the door and your joy can't get in, it's just on the other side, waiting in a loving hug. And even if there's a loud noise in the night and your joy gets scared away, it comes streaming back with the light of the silvery moon. Joy is that bubbly, bouncy feeling of finding a good friend. And once you let joy in, like magic, your heart always has room for more. We discovered that the more joy we shared, the more joy we had. And the more joy we had, the more joy we could share. And so look all around you for the joy and share it. Write it in a letter. Play it on a drum. Sing it to the sky. It will travel up in the air, across the ocean, and someone will find it and share it. And as it spreads from person to person, the world will fill with joy. So these two men grew up in far different circumstances, but both were looking for the same things. And in their separate lives, they came to the same wisdom, that if you just focus on the thing that makes you sad or angry or fearful, then all you see is sadness or anger and feelings of fear, which feeds upon itself again and again and again. But joy is all around us. Just look at these two guys. And even though joy and beauty is in our lives, and it often has to bonk us on the head, many of us don't seem to feel it or see it. Sometimes you have to be intentional about looking for joy and beauty. Be intentional in stepping back to see the fuller picture of your life and the world around you. And if you are intentional in letting joy and positivity in, it will shine right back out of you, and those around you will feel it and see it even if they don't recognize it yet. So be a light in the world to dismantle the darkness so many of us are experiencing today. So I now invite our children and youth to join me in the West Wing as we learn more about embracing our differences. Thank you.
as centering in words today are entitled Intentions and Trust by Amy Loyd. Today, I want to greet joy without a trace of suspicion. I want to open my eyes to the light without a blink of dread. I want to look at my past without a whisper of shame. I want to look at my future without a hint of fear. Today, I want to dance without pausing to think. I want to belly laugh without caring who hears. I want to open my arms and twirl in the sun. I won't twirl right now. Until I fall breathless, free to be myself, full of joy, that I open to allow completely to letting go, without even a smudge of suspicion or a wink of hesitation. That's my intention. It's what I want. As we go into a time of silent meditation, I invite you to contemplate what is your intention of what you want for today and the rest of your life. So does one's intention, action, or the result of that action determine the ethics of a situation? This is one of those lifelong questions that has drawn me into deep thinking and discernment. There's an old adage, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And although there are many of us here who do, particularly Universalists, who do not believe in hell, that is still a relevant metaphor, I would say. This raises the question for me that without proper action, are intentions important? So in a simple example, like for my New Year's resolution, I intended to lose weight. Yet, if I do not do the requisite study of nutritional education, if I do not exercise or change my eating habits, if I keep eating pizza, which I had for dinner last night, and chocolate chip cookies every day instead of vegetables and fresh fruit, it really doesn't matter what my intention is, I will not lose weight. So if I just think of the results of losing weight, right, as opposed to intention and action, I may go have liposuction surgery. Now, I want to say, I personally know people for whom this surgery has been life-changing for them. I also know people who have had this surgery and then go back to their previous eating habits and do not live a healthier life. So in this case, the intention, the action, and the results matter. Intention, though, without action, as I think I demonstrated in my weight loss example, will not lead to our desired outcome. But what about right action without intention? Can we know the right action without right intention? Can we have right action with bad intention? What about a pharmaceutical company whose intention is only to make money, but the product they make saves thousands of lives? What of the good intentions and wrong actions? I think we often see that. What if someone who is torturing someone has the good intention of thinking they are saving lives? And does it really matter what the intention is if the act is unethical, such as torture, in my opinion? Would your answer be different if that act of torture did save thousands of other lives? And ultimately, that leads to the question, does the end justify the means? But the problem with only looking at results or the ends to determine the ethics of an action is that we really can only do so in hindsight. And therefore, this could lead to either one, a paralysis of not taking action, since there is always ambiguity of the outcome, or on the other end of the spectrum, it leads us to unethical acts without concern to the harm that it causes others or our planet, or even to ourselves, honestly. However, it does follow that the inability to have advanced knowledge of the results of our action does not eliminate our culpability to determine the ethics of the action itself. Now, I am a person who does set and focus on goals and results, but I have learned that it is critical not to become attached to those results, but to enjoy the journey towards them. The intention should be the star we use to guide us as we think about like a vision for the UUs of Sarasota. And although I enjoy each day of that journey in the present moment, I do freely admit that I still desire and work towards positive results. I may not know how I will get there when I start, but I think it is important to have that vision. We need to constantly and consistently reevaluate and adapt our actions as circumstances change or our results do not create the vision that we anticipated. Now, my experiences show me that not focusing on outcomes can lead individuals and or organizations to get sidetracked and easily lose direction. It is, though, the attachment to the outcome. To me, that's the biggest learning I have received from my study of Buddhism, is that it's the attachment to the outcome that causes suffering when our expectations do not match up with the results. And I would say religions in general try to help us give meaning, right, to the suffering that we experience in the world. There is real suffering that people have. And just the suffering from knowing that our body will one day end at some point. Some religions tell us to act in a very specific way if we want to get to an afterlife, to assuage our fear of death. Some religions use this in a manipulative way to support a heteronormative, patriarchal view of the world. But one of the beautiful things that I love about Unitarian Universalism is that it has always posited, since its origins, that no person is predestined to suffer, and that we work to end all suffering in this world. Now, one way that we help with suffering is once a month, when we share our offering with a local social justice organization. This month, as you heard, it will be Transition House. Please be as generous as you can. For those online, as well as those here on your cell phone, there is a link and QR code to donate. Let this sacred time begin. Our next reading is from the 19th century Unitarian minister Ralph Waldo Emerson. A person will worship something, have no doubt about that. We may think our tribute is paid in the secret, in the dark recesses of our heart, but it will out. That which dominates our imaginations and our thoughts will determine our lives and our character. Therefore, it behooves us to be careful what we worship. For what we are worshiping, we are becoming. I have throughout my life studied Eastern religions, as we spoke about our third source early when we lit the chalice, wisdom from world's religions, which inspires us in our ethical and spiritual life. And that is where I find answers to help me discern this issue of intention, suffering, and meaning making. And one of those world religions that has spoken to me is Buddhism. Now, Buddha's first discourse or teaching is the Four Noble Truths. The first noble truth is that all of life includes suffering, and that everyone suffers in ways that we do not even know. The second noble truth is that there are causes to our suffering, which is described roughly as striving or desire. And then the third noble truth is that suffering can end. And the fourth noble truth is that there is a path to end suffering. The path to end suffering is called the Noble Eightfold Path, or as the Chinese translate it, the path of 8 right practices. I like the Chinese translation because it specifically indicates that there is something that must be acted on, not just a belief system. And the concept of a path is the realization that this end to suffering is a journey, and it is never too early or too late to start it. And we should recognize that different people are on different parts of that path, on that journey. So 2 of the 8 practices are called right intention and right actions. And the Buddha writes, and I quote, there's a translation from Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddhist Vietnamese monk, "Karma is intention, a movement of the mind that occurs each time we speak or act. By being mindful of this process, we come to understand how intentions lead to habitual patterns of behavior, which in turn affects the quality of our experience," end quote. So this actually makes sense and allows me to understand that we are more likely to act in an ethical way if our intentions are ethical. Does it automatically follow that from our intentional thoughts, intentional action, and results happen? No. But Deepak Chopra writes that in the 7 spiritual laws of success that, and I quote, "conscious change is brought about by the 2 qualities inherent in consciousness, intention and attention. Whatever you put your attention on will grow stronger in your life, and whatever you take your attention away from will wither, disintegrate, and disappear." It doesn't have to be an either-or, intention or actions, but rather a both-and. And I think we can think about that in our lives when we have intention and pay attention to, let's say, whether it be a partner or even our golf game maybe, it will get better, that relationship, or maybe our golf game, I don't know. It is only when we integrate our intentions and our actions together that we will find wholeness in our lives. As the Greek philosopher Aristotle states, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit, end quote. So too then, if ethical acts require intentional thoughts, then we need to create a habit for intentional thinking. In the past, I've spoken about writing gratitude lists as a way to practice our intention of gratitude. One of the mindfulness trainings of the Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh is entitled Compassionate Healthy Living and includes the following passage. I quote, "We will practice looking deeply into how we nourish our body and mind with edible foods, sense impressions, volition, and consciousness. We will consume in a way that preserves compassion, well-being, and joy in our bodies and consciousness, and in the collective body and consciousness of our families, our society, and the earth. And some of his other writings, he also speaks about even what we watch on TV, what we bring into our body, whether visually, hearing-wise, everything impacts who we are and how we live in the world. Now, many years ago, in writing out my intentions, I put on my to-do list, and I am a list person with sub-lists for my sub-lists. It's the only way I can manage to maintain organization in a busy life. Anyway, I put on my to-do list, save the world. I know, it seems a bit audacious, I know. And I probably kept it there for a year. Every day when reviewing my to-dos, it just stared back at me. It seemed so overwhelming. And one of my coworkers actually saw this, looking over my shoulder, and said to me, I should worry more about saving myself first. Now, I don't know if he meant that in sort of the Christian way or not of saving myself, but as I grew in my religious life, I realized that it would take a change of consciousness on a large scale to make radical changes for myself, let alone the larger world. And that could only happen through community. And then one day I went out and I volunteered for a congregational project to help build a women's shelter. Now, I was probably in my mid-30s at this point, and you may find this hard to believe, but that was the first time I had ever hammered a nail in my life. My wife can affirm that for you. And even though not all the nails I hammered probably went in straight, but by doing so, by becoming engaged in helping others, I truly did save myself. It made me realize that what each of us does matters. It made me realize how interconnected we are to others. It made me realize how our actions connect us to people known and unknown to us, including all the women who found refuge in that shelter over the years since. We assume things will happen without us, but it is just not so. It is in the recognition of the impact through our actions, connecting with others in community, that we realize the logical progression of spiritual and ethical growth for ourselves. And once we feel connected to something greater than ourselves, once we realize that there even is an interdependent web of existence, once we have learned to empathize with others, once we realize that everything we do, and as important how we do it, impacts all that is, and then we can imagine the next evolution of humanity. And we know we must work to build the beloved community. And although I love to bend my mind when I hear Deepak Chopra say we are human beings, not human doings, I think to be is to do. We are always doing something while we are alive, even if it is just breathing. By discerning our intentions and using our right action, and then reflecting on our actions and adapting either our intentions or our actions, we can then see how our actions impact the world outside of ourselves. And by seeing how our actions impact others, we can learn to empathize with others. And we need to be intentional in all of our thoughts and actions to try to anticipate the impact of our actions to avoid harm to others. Although that might take a bit more advanced education on our part, and it might take longer to achieve our goal by doing so, such preparation for anticipation will allow us to live in harmony with ourselves and others. And if at times our impact does not match our intent, then I encourage you, upon realization, to just apologize. And so I just want to say that we must move forward always willing to learn. Let us continue to be models to each other. And I have to say that, well, what was I going to say? I don't know. I have so many things that I want to say. But let me just say this. that we must act together as a united people for reconciliation, for nation building, for the birth of a new world, and let a world where there is justice for all, where there can be peace for all, where we can have joy in doing that as well. It shouldn't be seen as a burden, but it should be seen as a joy. And so it is time to free ourselves from suffering, to free ourselves from attachment to outcomes, and to free ourselves from our limiting beliefs about what is possible. Let us continue to be models to each other and the rest of our community, and it starts with right intentions. For the answer to my own question is yes, intentions do matter. They matter a lot. They set the course for how we will view the world and how we will be and how we will act in the world. But intentions alone are not enough. It is only in relationship with others and each other and with the world itself that we can hope to achieve what we hope to achieve. Intentions only in relationship with right actions will lead to wholeness within ourselves and between ourselves and others in the world. May it be so. I invite you now to rise in body and or spirit for our closing hymn, My Life Flows On in Endless Sorrow.
My life lies on in endless song, a love of translation. I hear the reels of far off hymn that builds a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing?
As Henry David Thoreau said, as a single footstep will not make a path, as a single footstep will not make a path on the earth, so a single thought will not make a pathway in the mind. To make a deep physical path, we walk again and again. To make a deep mental path, we must think over and over the kinds of thoughts we wish to dominate our lives. Please join me now in extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you all for your presence here today. Go forth and be joyful.